Hi, I'm Mike 7 Whiskey Lima Oscar, also known as Andy. Maybe it's the other way around, who can tell? Today I just wanted to do a quick summary video for YouTube and TikTok. I followed a guide by a guy called Bob on TikTok. I'll post his link down in there. And I noticed there's a few things that I could have done with knowing from the video, and I just wanted to, almost make this as an appendum video for his. But what I've done is I walk my dogs quite a lot. I use my digital radio. I've got an MMDVM Hotspot. They only put out 100 milliamps, and it just doesn't reach with my radio down to the fields that I go to with the dog. And I like to, I like to listen to HubNet or talk to my friends while I'm on the DMR. And I wanted something a little bit more powerful. Now I did some investigation and found out that you're allowed a hotspot up to 4 watts under my license, which is a foundation. I'm M7 Whiskey Lima Oscar. So I set about building one. I looked at some videos and I came up with, the method to build it was using an STM32 board from Repeater Builder in the US. So I ordered that from there, and I set about building it on a Raspberry Pi. Now, what I'm about to go through for the rest of the video, I won't be on the clips, but I will be just summarising what I went about to build it and some of the pitfalls and things that I needed to know where they were when I was building the high-powered hotspot. So if you basically want to go on Pi-Star or use the WPSD project, I'm using a Yaesu FT8800 here and the Repeater Builder STM32 board on top of a Pi-Star 3, a Raspberry Pi 3. So let's begin. So the audio on this may be slightly different because I'm using my phone for this part. However, this is basically the STM board here via the GPIO connector onto a Raspberry Pi. In this instance, I'm using a Raspberry Pi 3. I just wanted to point out some points while I'm on here in case you need them for reference. But this is the pot that they're referring to when it says adjust for RX input clip-in. You get like a flashing light here that you have to turn it so that when you've got audio coming in, it just clips just below. This one here on the left that you can see nearest the center pin is for the TX adjustment. It's a multi-turn pot. This one is for the RSSI, and again this one is for the RX as well. This light here is the power. Now this flashing light, when you first get power to the device, that will flash slowly. When it's established a connection between the Raspberry Pi and the modem, it flashes quickly. That's perfectly normal. Just below that is the clip-in light that comes on when you turn it on. And also when you've got you're checking levels, the yellow bars go up and down, again not to be worried about. So this is like a VGA connector on the back. I can't remember the exact name for it, but it's a one of those 9-pin adapters that you'd use going into the old style monitors, and then a standard Pi power supply. So this case is actually the one you get from them if you order the separate one. It is worth getting because it is built for the fitment of the board, because the board just stick out the back a bit. It probably would have been advantageous if they'd fitted a fan to it, I have to be honest, because this does get a little bit warm, surprisingly, considering there's not really any output. On a hot day, if you're looking at your MMDVM software, you can see that the temperature's coming up. Back on the phone again. So here we have the mini DIN cable that goes into the back of my Yaesu. We only use 4 pins of this. In fact, if we turn it over, it's the very top 4 there. So we use those. I'll go through it on the diagram in a minute. So we use the 2 center and then the left and right on the next level down. So those are the pins that you use for my radio. I believe you use 1 extra if you're doing duplex or if you're using an actual repeater, but in the instance of using my Yaesu FT8800, we're only using 4 of these pins, and again using the 4 of these. I found that this was a very particularly good adapter because it opens up and you can literally screw the wires in, so you don't need to be any good at soldering from this. What I did is I bought a complete mini DIN lead from Amazon. I cut it in half. I matched the pin out of a multimeter, so basically by touching the end of each pin here and then touching the other end of the wire to get the matching colors, and then I wrote them down on the following diagram. So if you look at this pinout, you'll see that there are 4 pins marked. So you've got the TXA, the GND, the PTT, and the RX9600. So the RX9600 is basically your data 9600 baud cable, and for the receive down the cable, down the audio line. The ground is, as it says, is the ground. The TX is for the transmit, and the PTT is the push to talk. So going up to the chart above it, you will see that the pins you have to connect are as you look at the back of the DIN. So remember that when you're using your multimeter to pin out according to the document, you're going to be trying to match the left hand side of the mirror the pin with the right hand side as you look at the front of the DIN as you're pinning out, you know. So what I then did was I would mark my colours next to each pin so I knew which was which, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So I would hold the multimeter against each pin, and then I'd match it against the wire, and then I'd write the wire next to the diagram to know which one I was going to be, which colour was 1, which colour was 2, which colour was 3, which colour was 4. You then, if you look at the simplex channel, this is what we've been doing for the you know, this MMDVM card. You take wire 1 from the DIN, the TXA, and you put it into pin 2 on the VGA adapter that I showed you in the earlier video. You take pin 3 and go to pin 5, etc. Pin 4 on the DIN goes to pin 6 on the connector, and pin 2 goes to pin 8. It does take a little bit of tweaking, but if you use the adapter I got and the fact you just have to screw it in, it's really only about a 5 to 10 minute job to do this. Right, so here's some of the call signs that show my details in here at the moment. You'll see that the host name, you call the machine what you want. The call sign, obviously you put your call sign in there. This is edited out for the video. And also your radio ID, which you'll get from radioid.net if you haven't already done so. You put it in simplex mode. Now the key here is also, if you look at the radio frequency, if when you're putting a radio frequency in, it lights up red, it means that it's not an acceptable frequency to use. So just sort of make sure you're you stay within your band plan for your country, B, you're staying within the steps that are allowed for the frequency. The radio modem type, you select the RB STM32.DVM on GPIO. The GPIO is the connection. The V3 is because if you've got the blackboard, you may be on the V1, but otherwise it should be the GPIO V3. Modem port you don't normally need to touch. Now the modem baud rate, if you're converting from something like the little mini MMDVMs, this would be set to 115. For this device, the one that I've got, which is the latest one, the maximum baud rate here is 460,800, so 460800, and then you put your time zone in and dashboard language depending upon where you are. Don't forget to then come down to the Brandmeister network settings. If you've enabled DMR and you're using DMR, make sure you select the correct country code, put in the right password. Now sometimes if you change your frequency or if you change any of the settings, the password that appears to be there, it seems to reset itself. Also, if you're using like a low powered hotspot at home and a high powered hotspot as well, don't forget to enable the secondary drop down after the Brandmeister network ESSID. As you can see on this example, I've put a 01, which means it's basically my second device because my first device doesn't have an appendment on it. And then obviously enable your Brandmeister network enable. If you're using D-Star or anything else, obviously you don't need to worry about this, but in my example I was doing this for DMR. So what's really left to do now is plug in your cable from your hotspot across to your radio, and ensure that your frequency on your radio selected is exactly the same as what you put in your WSD. Now if for any reason it doesn't decode, go back to the first part of the video and look at the bit that I said is your clip pot, and when you're receiving something like a talk group, just turn back the pot so that the flashy red light disappears. And obviously make sure, as in this example, that I am using low power and you're within the band limits of what you're supposed to do. Well, I hope that's proved useful. The only other tip I can really think of is that some radios, like my Yaesu, for example, you have to put it into data mode. So I know one of the settings was I had to select the data to be on the main channel. I had to put it in data mode, and I had to change the baud speed to 9600. The baud speed of 9600 is a standard data channel speed, and I think it's what the STM32 is designed to communicate at. It doesn't seem to be any other settings on it that allows you to change it either on the MMDVM or anywhere else. So yeah, if you just remember to change your radio and to tweak your radio to be in a data mode, to enable the data socket on the back if necessary, so that the push to talk and everything comes through the data. It also stops the radio from feeding back a bit of noise. If you can hear yourself, generally I find if you can hear anything coming through the radio at all, that the radio is not configured correctly. The radio kind of needs to be quiet because it's using the data mode, and it should be transmitting everything up and down the cable. Anyway, any questions, if I can help at all, then please, drop me a message. Please like and subscribe, follow me. I do various content from streaming right the way through to tips and trips, how to make antennas, and in this instance, obviously, how to make a high-powered MMDVM hotspot. Thank you for watching. Cheers. This is Mike 7 Whiskey Lima Oscar, clear of channel.